Good evening, Sports Zodians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aglioloro. I am your host for this is Sports Zone. Coming live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We'll be talking about those Dave Hastings and Erich in a matter of moments. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got the NFL Week 4 picture to talk about here. All the games, all the recaps. We'll wind up going through the highlights of the weekend. We may wind up talking about baseball tonight because obviously the season ended on Sunday and the playoffs begin tonight. You had the wild card games, but in the National League, the Braves were the only one who clinched an outright division title. Both the NL Central and the AL Central were left up for grabs after 162 games, and you had playing games between the Brewers and the Cubs yesterday. And then you had the game between the Dodgers and the Rockies, which the Dodgers won. They clinched their 6th consecutive NL West division title. So tonight you have the Colorado Rockies, the wild card losers, taking on the Chicago Cubs, who did in fact wind up losing. So you got the two wild card, games tonight between the Chicago Cubs and the Colorado Rockies, and then tomorrow night you have the wild card game between the New York Yankees and the Oakland A's. A little bit, I don't know if you really want to call it a controversy, but the Yankees announced that Luis Severino will be starting the wild card game for them, while the Oakland A's will go with a pitcher by committee, and they're going to do what we've seen the Tampa Bay Rays do quite successfully this season, actually, where you have a relief pitcher open the game, and you know he's only going to wind up going a couple innings, and then you have your long man or your starter go for about 3 or 4 innings after that. The Yankees are going to wind up doing that. They are going to have 10 pitchers on their roster tomorrow. And for the Yankees, you have Severino, probably the best pure pitcher on the Yankee staff, in my opinion. But we know what happened with him last year during the playoffs when they had the wild card game. Didn't even last a full inning before he gave up, I believe it was 3 runs to the Minnesota Twins, and the Yankees bullpen had to come in and kind of mitigate the damage. The Yankees wound up winning that game eventually. And for the Yankees, you had Masahiro Tanaka, who has been your bulldog. He had the great postseason last year, and he's got that experience there. And then you also have Jay Happ, who's been amazing since he was acquired by the Yankees at the deadline. So you kind of thought they would wind up, oh, wow. Well, this is something I didn't think I'd get right now. Welcome to George Espina, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. I apologize, George, but welcome to the show. I am waiting for my co-host to come in the room. It is very good to have you on. I was just kind of giving a little bit of a prologue to the show, talking about the wild card game tomorrow between the Yankees and the A's, and the curious decision the Yankees made to go with Severino over Jay Happ and Masahiro Tanaka. I know I heard Francesca talking the other day how Severino has the best stuff out of all of them, so that's why they wound up choosing him as opposed to Tanaka or Happ, because Tanaka's only got a couple pitches, and if those don't wind up falling, he's got less in his repertoire than Severino does. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the Yankees are able to respond if Severino does wind up getting bombed like he did last year. Now, I don't think he's going to wind up getting bombed like that the way he did last year. If he can make it 5 innings, I think the Yankees definitely have this game, though, because Oakland's got a pretty good bullpen too. But I know that the starting pitchers are going shorter in the games, and I know that the bullpens are definitely being used a lot more now, and there's more reliance on it and everything. But I just don't think that approach is really going to win in a playoff game. And we now have the whole gang here. So let's welcome both Dave Hastings and Erich to the show. Both of you guys coming in at the same time. How are we doing, guys?
Doing good, Mike. Doing good.
Yep. Good. Erich.
Keeping it sweaty.
Keeping it sweaty. Glad to hear it, man. So, glad to hear it, man. We're going to start off the show with a couple things before we get into the NFL stuff. And, Erich, I was kind of leading off the show with a little baseball talk. Let's start with you here. So, Severino gets the nod for the wild card game over Tanaka and J-Happ. I kind of thought it should be Happ based on performance from the season, but they went with Severino because he is the best pure pitcher on the rotation. Where would you have gone with that to start the wild card game yesterday?
If I was the manager, I would have went with Happ, but that's because he lined up there. He pitched last Wednesday. He pitched on Friday. I was actually at the game in Fenway on Friday when they clinched home field. It was awesome. So I personally would have pitched Happ, but I understand. Listen, you can't argue with Severino because he's the ace of the staff. Regardless of how well Happ is pitched, it's still Severino's staff. He's still the number one, and then it's kind of like 2A, 2B situation with Happ and Tanaka.
All right, yeah, fair enough. I don't think it's a terrible decision. You got to wonder though, based on what happened last year. Tanaka, I think, is a little bit more of the gamer, and Happ definitely has the better second half. So I think, and I kind of agree with you. I would have chose Happ myself. Are you nervous about Severino in that spot tomorrow?
Yes and no, but they'll have a short leash on them, and they have a great bullpen. So if we have to go that route, that's the route we have to go. If we got to use Sonny Gray or we got to use somebody else for an inning here or there, Chad Green for a couple innings, and then work our way through our bullpen. If that's what we got to do to get through the game, that's what we'll do. Now that I'm really thinking about it, though, Severino, and especially the way he's pitched down the stretch, it might be the right move to start him, and that's only because with as well as Happ has pitched against Boston, wouldn't you want him? I mean, if he pitched in the wild card, he wouldn't pitch till Game 3. Pitching in Game 2 means he's going to pitch at least twice during the Boston series. Maybe that's the way the Yankees were looking to line it up. Maybe they only wanted to get Severino one time against Boston with the way he's pitched against them late in the year. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair thought, though. Definitely the strategy about the series. Even though, I mean, Oakland's played really well, though. I mean, I'm not saying you're overlooking them, but I wouldn't be so quick to overlook them, though. They don't have a
No, but I'm not. We have our ace on the staff. We have our ace in. So, I mean, I don't feel bad about who we're starting.
Well, wait. Because I wasn't going there, truthfully. But where I was going was, you look at Oakland, they're not starting a starting pitcher tomorrow. They're starting Liam Hendriks, and you basically know it's going to be a pitcher by committee tomorrow. How do you feel about this? Because we kind of saw the rise of this whole thing this season with the Tampa Bay Rays doing it. And they had a decent amount of success with it. But I actually said before you guys came on, I just don't really think that way of doing it is conducive to playoff baseball myself.
Well, no, and I mean, to do that, you really got to have some really good relievers. And I'll be honest, I don't know anybody on Oakland's relief staff off the top of my head.
Now they have James Familia now. They have Familia now. That's
yeah. He scares me. He scares me. No, he doesn't. So, I mean, if that's what they want to do to face our lineup, I mean, the Yankees are coming in swinging the bat well here at the end of the season. So, good luck to them with that approach tomorrow. I don't think it's the right approach, but, we'll see if it works for them.
Now, I have a question to ask you because, okay, so in the National League, you had everyone tied for the division title. You had the Cubs and the Brewers tied for the NL Central division title. Then you had the Dodgers and the Rockies tied for the division titles, and they had the play-in games yesterday and the wild card game today. You might disagree with me. I thought it was stupid as hell to do the play-in game when you know all 4 teams have made the playoffs. Just use in-season tiebreakers. Don't play 163 games, especially when you're expecting them to come back the next day and play a wild card game. I thought that was totally ridiculous for them to do that. But what did you think?
As far as the timing goes, listen, that's baseball. You used to playing every day anyway. It's just a continuation of the season. Play 162, make it 163. It doesn't matter. They don't complain about it. It's not like adding a game like you would in the NFL where people are up in arms or, and don't want to do it. Here it's a little different. So I don't mind it because, again, that's the rhythm of baseball. I almost wish the Yankee game wasn't tomorrow because I don't like too much time off. I think that might hurt Boston having an entire week off. During an entire season, you never get that much time off. Well, everybody's going to get it. I think it could throw the rhythm off. I think it could throw momentum off. I'm not a fan. I like the spacing. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I mean, to your point, actually, I think if you were going to do the playoff game, you should have moved the AL wild card game tonight and had the National League wild card game tomorrow. So I give you that. But my only thing is all 4 teams are in the playoffs already. I get the idea that if you have 2 teams tied for that last wild card spot, then the play-in game makes sense. I just don't think it makes sense if all 4 teams are making the playoffs already. That's all I would say. Anyway, Dave, do you have any thoughts on this? I know baseball isn't really your cup of tea, but I'd like to hear your opinions on this if you have any.
I mean, look, I will say that I'm more on the side with Erich of the idea that it's baseball and they keep playing anyway. And to me, that's part of getting into the playoffs is earning, whether you get to sleep in your own bed the night before the game or if you're on the road in a hotel. And, all those little things can add up and make a difference in the game. I mean, so I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's just, like Erich said, I mean, the bottom line is it's baseball and they're used to playing every single day for, 9-10 months straight anyway. So
yeah, but you get the idea that all 4 teams are already in the playoffs anyway. Like no one who lost yesterday didn't make the playoffs. It was just a question of seeding.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's the thing is you got to get the seeding.
It can still have an impact on the outcome of the actual playoffs.
All right. Okay.
You put one team at home and they run through the playoffs just because. I mean, to me, that really is something that can be a momentum builder. They win that play-in game, they win the wild card game, and then all of a sudden they got some momentum going, and they're facing a team, like Erich said, that's resting for almost a full week. And all of a sudden, tides turn, and it can all be pointed back to having maybe that 163rd game.
I mean, fair enough. I think the way I think. All right, last baseball point I want to make here, and then we're going to move on. And Erich, I want to say this real quick, and then you can definitely chime in, and Dave, I'll get your thoughts on this. So, David Wright, we haven't talked about David Wright the last couple of weeks here. I want to bring this up because Saturday was his last game in the major leagues. He's going to retire. They're not going to call it a retirement for financial reasons, obviously, because his body is simply no longer able to let him play. And I just want to say his career never reached the heights it should have, in my opinion. You look at where he was in his height, and I never thought he was the best player in the league. I never even thought he was the best third baseman in the league. But to me, this is sad because this is another guy who could have been the biggest star in franchise history. This is another case like a Doc Gooden or a Darryl Strawberry, a guy who had all the talent in the world. I personally thought at the height of his career, which was that 2005-2009 period, I never looked at him as the guy who could carry an entire lineup, but I definitely felt like he was heading in that direction. It's just a shame to see his career go since 2009 with all the injuries that happened and the fact that he tried everything to get back on the field, and you're never going to see him again. And I just think it's a shame that this is the way the Mets' best hope for that franchise player always seems to wind up turning out. Whether, like I said, whether it's Gooden, whether it's Strawberry, Reyes was in that argument at some point, and then we know how that went. Wright was that shining hope, and unfortunately never got to the zenith that it could have gotten to. And, I've heard people call him overrated at times. And unfortunately, given the way his career went and the hype he had when he was at the height of his career, it does wind up being the case that he was overrated as a player just because he never reached that. But to me, it's just a sad day to see it end, especially the way it has. But, Erich, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm going to pass it to Dave first. I'm going to let Dave go first on this one.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. I'll say this. First and foremost, David Wright, only baseball jersey I've ever owned in my life. So that'll just kind of
Wait. Back in the old Club Zone days, this topic got us in trouble. The day you didn't show up and I had my dad and his friend on the air, my dad, I don't know, I don't care. We're not on that station anymore. He pretty much says anybody that owns a David Wright jersey should be a chick. That's just
that's horrible. That's horrible.
It's the same thing. It's like wearing a Jeter jersey. Guys shouldn't wear Jeter jerseys.
But that doesn't make any sense, though. I'm sorry. You're gonna wear any player's
It does, because they're kind of, it's kind of, in his opinion. I'm speaking for him. I just know the way he feels about it.
I don't agree with that whatsoever, because you can wear any player's jersey you want. Just because you have a Wright jersey or a Jeter jersey, that means you might as well be a chick? No, man. Come on. That means you like...
The same thing like wearing a Yankee jersey with the name printed across the back.
Well, that's just
You know
wrong.
what I mean? Like,
That's just
no, but
wrong.
it's just as wrong for a guy to wear a David Wright jersey.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. Dave, let's let Dave continue.
That's the jersey your girlfriend pulls out of the closet when you're going to the game and she needs something to wear. The team logo on it. That's what she's pulling out of the closet every time. I'm sorry. For the next 30 years, it's going to be the David Wright jersey.
No, I'm sorry.
And can we just say too? I mean, how bad is it with the Mets that you're celebrating potential? You're not like. I mean, he had a nice career, but he's nowhere near the Hall of Fame. I mean, you're pretty much celebrating the player he could have been. I mean, this is as Mets get. I mean, you're celebrating what he could, not
Dave,
what he was, not anything else. He is literal.
I mean,
It's just.
I don't.
Now we're hearing it. Your
points are amusing. I really don't have any rebuttals for you outside of the dudes that wear Wright jerseys should be or just chicks. I'll never obviously agree with that for pretty blatantly obvious reasons.
Not my opinion. I'm just saying that's what he believes.
Oh, well, what I will say is this. I honestly think that when it came down to the respect they showed him and the applause that they gave him and everything, I really thought it was nice. But as a Mets fan, all you've heard is people agree with that feeling and that statement. To hear somebody from the outside say you celebrated potential, it really kind of does hit home a little bit, because all in all, he really never even really got to what we all expected him to be able to be. And that is really disappointing. So, I mean, I never heard anybody say it that way, and I just kind of wanted to point that out. I think that's kind of a really good statement about this, is the fact that when you really look at it, you're kind of more celebrating what you were hoping he'd be, but he was a great Met. I mean, how many Mets are you going to name above him when it comes down to relationship and reputation with the team and fans over the last 20, 30 years? How many can you name above him?
There's not. I mean, you might be able to name Gooden and Strawberry, but in terms of your criteria, what you just said, I don't think there are any.
So that's really all I got to say about it.
I want to go back. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
That's really all I got to say about it. But Erich, that really is a great point, because I didn't think about it like that. It really was kind of outside of being a Mets fan. That's really kind of the view and message you get, is like you're really kind of more celebrating what you were hoping he was going to be, and what he kind of just stayed, loyal to the team and the team stayed loyal to him and the relationship. But that's really all you kind of were actually celebrating. You weren't saying goodbye to a Hall of Famer. It wasn't like, obviously not the same position, but not like watching like Cal Ripken play his last game, for his, for the Orioles or something like that. So that's kind of a different way to look at it, because obviously as a Mets fan, that's not a way I was thinking. So
here's my problem. Though. He's not wrong. But the problem is, Dave, I can hear you say it. I'd be all right with it. It's hard to hear it from Erich, because Erich just loves taking shots to the Mets. And let's go back to this whole. It's like girl wearing a jersey. So if you say it like that, so what? If your father was alive in the '80s, well, your father was alive in the '80s. So what? Did he feel that way about it? Did he feel that way about a Mattingly jersey? Dude, I'm really tired right now. Give me some slack. Calm down. Did he feel that way about someone wearing a Don Mattingly jersey?
I'd have to ask him. He has multiple people he feels like with this, and I believe it spans multiple decades. So yes, I don't think this is just a recent phenomenon with him. I would have to go to him and ask him for the list. So I'm sure there would be some.
Because that's like, what are you saying? So it's like the well-known player. So it's like, I'm not comparing these guys.
Well, no. Because what?
Fine. If Dave
he's
wears
perfectly fine with like people wearing a Mariano jersey or like another jersey like that. It's not like it's just because it's a current player or somebody that just retired. I think he feels the same way about the Jeter jersey as he does the A-Rod jersey.
Well, the A-Rod jersey, I agree with that. I can agree with the A-Rod jersey. The Jeter,
there you go.
So basically, your dad hates on dudes that get a lot of chicks. That basically sounds like what the problem is.
Well, it's usually the chicks wearing the jerseys. Listen, Jeter sent them home with gift bags, so some of these girls left with jerseys.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. That's fair, but that's not the same thing. So what? During the 30 seconds that we had Matt Harvey, was that his feeling on that?
Yeah, I think Matt Harvey was in that discussion too.
That's
I believe that, but I think he's okay with Thor though. I think he's all right with Syndergaard.
That's nice. That's nice of him. That's very nice of him.
And DeGrom. I don't think there's anything for DeGrom there either. I think DeGrom's all right too.
Well, that's very nice of him. I'm sure he's being very generous with that. Jesus Christ.
I think he feels. I don't even think he feels that way about a Judge jersey. I think he feels all right with anybody wearing Judge jerseys.
Until the first time we see him on the back page with a supermodel?
I don't know.
Probably.
We'll see. We'll have to find out. I'll have to get the report from him.
Yeah.
Yo, one show we should do a top 10 list where Mike and me have to try to guess on what your all three of us have to guess on what your dad's top 10 list is. Like, can't even look at it. You just have to have dad give it.
I'm just wondering. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just wondering if someone like Michael Jordan would be on the list, because I'm not comparing any of those guys to Michael Jordan, but I feel like it's kind of the same standard.
I don't think, and again, I would have to check with the source, but I don't believe he has a problem with anybody wearing a Jordan jersey.
Then I just don't even know what to say to that. But I would be down for that, Dave. That doesn't sound too bad. I think I'm all right with that.
I think some of the names would surprise you.
Yeah, no doubt. The fact that we're even having this discussion surprises me. I don't remember this from the Club Zone days at all. So I'm like,
no, it was early, and it almost got me thrown off the air real fast. We'll digress.
Wait a minute. I want to hear this.
We'll digress. Anyway.
No, how did you almost get thrown off the air for that?
I had to have talks with people, and I was flat honest with them. They were the opinions of the people on the show. I'm not going to silence them.
Yeah.
So we had some fun, and other people that were listening, there's one particular listener who did not find us as fun, and she made sure her voice was known too. So, yeah.
Well, Erich, you can't see the chat room, but we do have someone in here right now, and she just said Erich needs to be thrown off the show. We're gonna ignore that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they do because they weren't my opinions, but you wanted to. I don't lie to you either, so I'll give you the truth. Last baseball point. We got to hit one more thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Who you guys got? World Series predictions. Who's making it through?
I think it'll be the Dodgers again in the NL. I think it'll be the Dodgers again. And I don't know who I got in the American. I feel like the American League is really wide open. I really do. But I feel like whoever makes it in the American League is going to win it. Because you got some strong teams in the American League. I can see any of them, except maybe the A's. The A's would be the only team I see not getting there.
Well, come on, Mike. Give us a team.
Yeah, I don't know. He put me on the spot here, and I really haven't thought about it. I've worked 50 hours in the last 5 days, guys. You have no idea.
Listen, we can't talk about baseball in the playoffs and not give it at least some kind of prediction.
I'm gonna, something. Fuck it, man. I'm saying Houston. I'm saying Houston back to back. Houston and Dodgers part 2. That's what I'm going with.
I'm gonna be. I'll stay a hometowner, man. I'll go with the Yankees and I'll go with the Yankees and the Cubs. How about that?
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Now, just to let you know, as you say that, the Cubs are down 1-0 to Colorado in the fourth, bottom of the fourth.
Got the game on, my friend. I got the game on.
All right. I was just making sure you
now
had all the facts.
Erich, before we get your prediction, my cousin David is in the chat room. Cousin David, how you doing? Hope you're good. I hope the Yankees beat Oakland because I don't have a good feeling. I have a question for cousin David right now. I know you will never like Aaron Boone, but what outcome in this playoff would make you stop wanting him to be fired? That's my question. Erich, let's hear your predictions while we wait for an answer on that.
I mean, what I want to see and what I'm going to predict are two different things. What I want to see is the Cubs versus the Yankees. That's what I would like to see.
Okay.
I would like to see that matchup. A lot of young talent on both sides. I think it would be fun. Both, great organizations, whatever. On the flip side, I half agree with you, though. I think the Dodgers could make it out of the NL, so I'm going to go Dodgers, Yankees, although I would prefer to see Cubs, Yankees.
Okay. Now, just so you know, because I did not pick the Yankees to win the World Series, they're probably going to win the World Series. That's just my line. So I think you got that going for you. All right. So with that, and we ain't even going to talk about the fact that Jeff Wilpon blamed Sandy Alderson for the fact that the Mets don't wind up spending money. We ain't even going to talk about that. We ain't got enough time. Because I heard that, I just wanted to choke someone because it's like, how you gonna throw his ass under the bus? But anyway, all right, football recap. Week 4 football recap. I will let each of you guys give me 2 things real quick because we only got about 15 minutes left now, I think. 2 things you guys really liked, stood out to you in week 4. And Dave, let's start with you.
The Cowboys gave the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, so I was a huge fan of that. That actually made sense for once. And the one other thing that really kind of stuck out to me this week isn't really about a specific game. It's more a combination of the poor refereeing that we've seen, that we really kind of saw this week, and kind of had impacts on games. And the fact that quarterbacks are literally just destroying the league on a pace that's never been seen before.
I'll say this. I'm talking about the bad officiating. I saw the Browns play, which I think was the biggest one. The Browns play where he had the first down and then he overturned it. If you look at the play, his elbow was down before he hit the line of scrimmage, but I think it's totally stupid that they counted that as him being down. Like, I know the rule is if the elbow's down, it counts as down, but I'm sorry. The way he was going, they should have counted the forward motion, in my opinion. Erich, what do you got?
Piss poor officiating like the rest of you, so I'll echo the same sentiment. And outside of that, I mean, what stands out, the Giants' O-line just still doesn't look right. Even though It wasn't Flowers this time. I can't say that. So I don't know. We got to go back to the drawing board, I guess, again. Patrick Mahomes, nice comeback win, down 10 points to the Broncos last night. I think that was something. That kid's really, I mean, he looks to be the real deal. He looks good, at least through the first 4 weeks of the season. They have a 2-game lead already in that division over everybody else. So yeah, that kind of stood out to me. And I guess Le'Veon Bell, I guess they're saying he's coming back for the bye week in week 7. So that stands out to me as well.
Oh, you mentioned Le'Veon Bell. What about what happened with Earl Thomas? He comes back.
Oh yeah, but that's why you don't come back.
Right?
That's why, because if you're about your money, you can't come back.
Yeah. That was horrible.
People don't care about you. They don't care about you. That guy's not going to get the same contract now. He's going to have to battle back off injury. He lost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm sitting out too.
Yeah.
Again, the players' union, and they're going to end up striking again because they've got to renegotiate. Their deal is terrible. So until they get new rules in place for themselves, they're going to have to deal with this NFL. And unfortunately, Earl Thomas was a victim this week.
Yeah, let me say the same, but here's the question. Because you talked about that, and I think we all already agree the work stoppage is coming. Do we think it's going to be a strike, or do we think it's going to be a lockout? Do we think the owners lock them out, or the players just strike?
No, it's a strike. But, I mean, too, you see it. Nobody even knows how to hit anymore. You don't know how to tackle. No wonder offenses are blowing up and points are getting scored at record rates and QBs are off the charts good. These QBs aren't anything special. You're lightening the rules on everybody. These aren't the same rules people played with even just a couple years ago. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't touch them. It might as well be like a kicker where you can't touch them. You know, and everybody's going to light it up. You might as well play flag football. They're trying to take the violence out of a violent sport, and you can't do it. You can't do it successfully anyway. Otherwise, just play flag football.
Yeah. Dave's chiming in the chat room. Giants are the worst team in the NFL, and I'm a fan. NFLPA, worst union in sports. Players need guaranteed contracts, especially with head injuries. Well, I don't think the Giants are the worst team in football, but I can agree with the rest of what he said. Dave, what do you got?
I mean, it really is kind of going to turn into a very ugly situation once the contract negotiations start again. And it's one of those things where, as a fan, you better get ready because it's not going to go well very quickly. You know, they'll come to a deal. We all know they'll come to a deal, but when it does happen, that's a different question. But I feel for Earl Thomas, like Erich said, cost him millions of dollars, that injury, because every team's going to be offering him 1-year prove-it deals. He'll maybe get like a 3-year deal from a team that, you know, where they had team options for the second and third year. Like, he's not going to get anything supportive. You know, like your cousin said, I don't think they'll ever give him fully guaranteed contracts just due to the fact that you have these players playing such a violent game that they really just won't take the risk. They just won't. The odds of being hurt are so much higher in football than any other game. So I just you feel for the players, but when it's all said and done, I'm a fan of the team. So that's just how it is. That's why they tend to have to come up short on their negotiations. Is fans are fans of the team. You may have a favorite player, but you know in the back of your head he's only there for a handful of years. No. Your team's still going to be there. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, though, I do think there will be a time where guaranteed contracts come to the NFL. I mean, Kirk Cousins got the guaranteed contract. I think it was like $89 million or something. Now, obviously, that's quarterback, and as we've talked about, I mean, it's quarterback league. That seems to be all the NFL cares about with the rules and everything. But I do think we're going to see that happen at some point. Now, whether the work stoppage has to happen first or not for that to happen, that's a different story. And he's chiming in here. You have a ton of players in baseball and the NBA making more than the best NFL players. Sad. Don't just write sad, man. We don't need that. You sound like someone else I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to mention here, but we all know who I'm talking about. Why would an athlete play football, make more money playing other sports? I mean, that last point, it's hard to argue with that, really. What do you guys think on that?
There really is no argument for that point.
Yeah. Erich?
Some people just do it for the glory, man. I mean, you see two-sport athletes. You look at a Bo Jackson. He played baseball and he played football. I mean, football is what really ended up hurting him in the long run, but he was a guy who had the desire. You look at a guy like Deion Sanders. I mean, you don't have to just be a big guy like Bo. You could be a guy like Deion, primetime. Played 2 sports as a pro. That is impressive. And you got to have a desire, will to want to put your body through that. And for people like that, I mean, people that choose football over other sports, it's because they got a passion for it. They love it, whether it's the violence, whether it's the contact, whether it's, it's a different game. They're different sports completely. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well, listen, to your point, though, you make a decent point, but, I mean, the fact is, that was a different time when you look at it. I know it was a more violent time in the NFL, but it was still
it would be easier to do it now. It would be easier to do it now. Less violence in the game means less injuries, less chance of injuries. The pads are better.
But the injuries are still happening.
They're still happening, but I don't think it'd be worse to do now than it would be 30 years ago. I think it would have been worse to do 30 years ago when Bo was doing it, and 20 years ago when Deion was doing it. It was worse to do it back then.
All right. Let's I want to go straight into our picks real quick here, just to get this out of the way. So last week, me and Erich both went 1-2. I swear to God, Minnesota almost won that game, but Jared Goff went off, man. We're going to talk about Jared Goff in a second here, because I got a question to ask about Goff. Detroit beats Dallas. New Orleans Dallas beats Detroit, and the Saints beat the Giants here. So me and Erich go 1-2. Dave goes 2-1. Me and Dave are tied.
Hold on, wait. I thought I had the Rams. I didn't take the Vikings.
Yeah, but you also had the
Rams and the Cowboys.
I'm sorry. Erich went 2-1 as well. I forgot. You had Dallas. I saw that wrong.
I switched my pick at the last second. Otherwise, I would have had a 3-0 week.
You did.
Instead, I switched. I thought my Giants would be able to turn the corner, and instead they flopped on their faces.
Yeah.
That was a really disappointing performance, man. That was really – I expected more out of them in that game.
Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah.
We all did.
So Erich is 5-6-1. Me and Dave are 6-4-1. The 3 games we are picking tonight. Let's start with the Giants going into Carolina to take on the Panthers. Real quick here, I'll give everybody about 30 seconds here. I'm picking Carolina. You said it about the offensive line. I think it's hard to pick the Giants right now, even though the defense looked pretty good in that game, at least early on. I'll give them credit for that. So I go with Carolina. Erich, I'll let you start this. Who you got?
I got Carolina.
Yep.
I can't trust the Giants right now.
Yep. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants' defense against Cam Newton and the Panthers coming off of a bye week, plus that defense and Luke Kuechly. Yeah, the Giants would need a lot of things to bounce their way for them to get this win. So I'm definitely taking Carolina.
All right, let's go to the Houston Bowl, or I should say the Texas Bowl, where you have the Cowboys going into Houston to take on the Texans. Listen, the Texans ain't done anything really worth shouting about so far this season, but, as much as the Cowboys got the win last week, I still don't have faith in that offense right now. Yeah, it's great that they handed Zeke the ball. You do that, you're fine, but sooner or later, that's not going to pay off if this passing game really doesn't start coming around. Prescott needs to have at least one 300-yard week. Otherwise, sooner or later, Elliott's not going to be able to get anything, in my opinion. So I'm going with Houston here. Dave, let's go to you.
I agree. I disagree with you on the fact that Prescott needs to have a 300-yard week.
Well, he's got to do something. I'm sorry.
The way he played against Detroit is exactly what they need him to play like. If it wasn't for some bad play calling and a drop pass in the end zone, you have him with a really, really solid game. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Prescott needs to play. If he can play at the level he played at, Dallas has a chance to have this offense get better. They just need the wide receivers to continue to, step up. Tavon Austin dropping a touchdown pass, and then you call 3 pass plays on 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. That doesn't make any sense. It's just ignorant, and it's stupid. Like, with Zeke having the game he was having, you have Rod Smith as a backup, and you've been rushing the ball on Detroit all day. You don't need to do that. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to go on a rant. When it comes down to picking the game, I think this one's going to be an interesting one because Houston hasn't really shown anything that's been overly impressive, but they seem like they're starting to get better. So that's a little nerve-wracking. J.J. Watt's starting to play even better. You got Clowney starting to play really good football. I think this is a really, really tight game. And prime time in Dallas. They're playing in Houston or Dallas?
As far as I know, they're playing in Houston.
Houston. I got to kind of go Vegas style. I'm going to take Houston in this one.
All right. Erich, who you got?
I'm taking Dallas. I mean, did you guys just forget that Houston lost to the Giants last week? I mean, come on. I mean, the Giants are beating them with their porous O-line. You can't tell me that Dallas isn't going to have halfway of a decent game against them. I can't pick Houston right now. Houston's on like a 9-game losing streak. Never bet against the streak. I need to ride it until it breaks itself.
I mean, to be fair, we did bet against the streak a couple weeks ago when we all picked Cleveland against the Jets. So I just want to point that out.
This doesn't feel like that. This doesn't feel like that, though. This is a game Dallas should win. Dallas has eyes on winning the division. They're only 1 game back in the division right now. I believe Dallas 2-2. So, I mean, this is an important game. They can't lose this game. And I think they know that. And I think they might have figured something out last week with Zeke. If they get a little smarter in the red zone calling, it could be a good game for them. I don't see any way that you shouldn't take Dallas in this game right now. To me, I mean, listen, I could be wrong, and maybe Deshaun Watson goes out there and lights it up, and DeAndre Hopkins and Fuller go off, and Lamar Miller runs for 100 yards. Who knows? But I just think all the stars would have to align for that to happen, and there's better chances Dallas is going to come out with the win, regardless of whether the game's close or not. Could be a field goal, but I just see Dallas coming out on top.
And Dallas does get David Irving back, which adds to that defensive line rotation. And he's just a freak animal. I mean, he had 7.5 sacks in like 9 games last year or something.
All right, let's pick this one very quickly here. It's Indy going into New England to take on the Patriots on Thursday night. I chose this one. I just think it'll be interesting. Luck appears to be just fine. He threw it like 60 times on Sunday. New England hasn't exactly gotten off to a banner start, but they never do. I'm going with New England here. Let's hear from both of you guys very quickly here. Erich.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take Indy, but you can't. You got to go New England at home.
Yeah. Dave?
I'm going New England at home with Belichick against that Indy offense. And, I mean, honestly, Indy's going to probably be without their starting left tackle, without T.Y. Hilton, without their starting line, like 3 other starters. Like, Indy's going into this game really beat up, and that's not a good sign. So I'm going to go with New England at home.
Side note, Tom Brady, I believe, is one of the jerseys.
Yeah, well, okay, that actually makes a little bit of sense. I would say only because we are not in Boston does that make sense. All right, we got a minute and a half here left. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. I want to thank my cousin David. I want to thank his family friend George, who was listening very briefly early on. I want to thank everybody else for listening. Real quick, let's say goodbye, everybody. Thank you both for being with me. Dave Hastings, what you got?
Always a pleasure, my friends, and until next time.
All right, man. Thank you. Erich, what you got?
Let's go Yankees. By next time we talk, we'll be hopefully a couple games into the division series. And, by the way, Roll Tide as well. Alabama looking awesome. I mean, just rolling over teams right now. Tua has the highest QB rating, I think, through the first, 5 games of a season in, NCAA history. So, yeah, Roll Tide as well.
Roll Tide, yes. And I am Mike Aguiloro. Everybody, thank you for listening. This is SportsZone. We will see y'all next week.
Let's go Yankees.